Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. And if you're a Stormcast Eternals fan, this is the video for you because we have collected over this weekend all of the rules that we've been able to see from the leak shots for Stormcast for Age of Sigmar 4. And there isn't tons. It's mainly all of the War Scrolls and some of the special rules for Stormcast Eternals that we've seen from the open day at Warhammer World and that we saw from the American event. But we're going to go through all of them now. And the first thing I would like to say is thank you to everyone on Patreon. And second thing I'd like to say is in the comments, I'm going to need what your feelings are on all of these new units, because we have seen all of the rules for the Stormcast that are going to be in that launch box. So I want to know which one's your favorite, which ones you like, what do you think of them? I've actually already used these in a game. I played a practice game at Warhammer World, not a practice game. I played one turn of an intro game with these specific units, so I've already got thoughts. TLDR, I think prosecutors are super good. Not super sure on reclusians, but anyway, I like those. But before we do any of that, let's get straight into all of the battle traits and the spell lore and some of the special rules. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the battle traits and also the battle formation special rule, which was also got kind of leaked as well. So battle traits are something you get for your whole army, and battle formations are based on which one of the sub-factions you choose. You also build your units into regiments. Those are different to battle formations, but the battle formation special rule applies to all regiments, and in fact all models in your army. So the battle trait also applies to all units in your army, and for Stormcast is the fact that you can put units in reserve and you can deep strike them. There will be more battle traits coming for them as well. The battle formation that we've seen is for the Sentinels of the Bleak Citadels, which is pretty fun. And this is a once per turn for the army, so you can only do it once every turn, not each. So you're going to be able to do it twice over a battle round, and you choose any hero phase. And so you're going to do it in both hero phases. You pick a friendly Ruination Chamber unit. That unit has a ward save of 5+ for the rest of the turn. So basically in your hero phase, if you're already in combat or you're planning on being in combat, you say that unit there, 5+ ward save. In your opponent's turn, you might defensively use the 5+ ward save. That's what you do. It's quite fun, very good, but obviously only works for Ruination Chamber units. We also saw a cheeky artifact of power, which is a mirror shield, which you can't target units outside of 9 inches, which is actually really good, especially against heavy shooting armies. And we also have seen our first prayer lore, which is blessed weapons, which is a call value of 6. We did get it confirmed in the Games Workshop live stream that the way prayers work is you try to enact a prayer, and then whatever your result, as long as it's not a 1, you build that up in a kind of pool. So let's say I rolled a 5 in the first turn, because it requires a 6 to do, I wouldn't be able to do it. But the next time I roll it, I can add whatever I add on, as long as it's not a 1. And then let's say I added another 5, so that'd be a total of 10. Then I could spend it on this prayer, and then I lose all of those prayer points. And then, so that's how it works. And there are 2 values for this. There's a 6 and a 12. You pick a friendly Stormcast Eternals infantry unit within 12 inches. You add 1 to the attack characteristic of that unit until the start of your next turn, which is a great buff, absolutely brilliant. But if the chanting roll was a 12, then this ability affects all visible friendly Stormcast Eternal units wholly within 12 inches, which is amazing. So there's definitely a slow grow to that, where turn 3 you go boom, bless everyone's weapons, and then everyone just gets that much stronger. That feels very strong. I really like that. So those are kind of special things we've seen. Onto the spell lore. Looking at the spell lore, we've got 3 spells from the Lore of the Storm. Don't forget, in Age of Sigmar 4, you pick a spell lore for your army, and then you also pick a manifestation lore. Each wizard in your army knows every spell from the spell lore, and they can cast each one of them when they get the chance. You can also cast some spells multiple times if they've got the unlimited keyword, like Lightning Blast. So that means you get to choose all of these situational things. First up, let's talk about Lightning Blast. It's cast on a 5, and it's unlimited, so you can cast it with multiple wizards. Not the same wizard multiple times, but if you've got 5 wizards, you can cast it 5 times. You pick a friendly, you choose an enemy unit, the closest visible enemy unit that has not been the target of this ability, and then you make a casting roll, and if it's cast, they take D3 mortal damage. So 5 wizards, 5d3 mortal damage, a little magical lightning blast gun line, like your Raiden or something, which I love. I think that's super fun. So there's definitely a, do mortal damage build in there. But the same unit can't suffer it multiple times, so that's great. That means you can't target a monster and just lightning blast it to death, which is very cool. Thundershock is cast on a 6. You pick an enemy unit that's visible within 12 inches, and then -1 to the wound rolls until the start of your next turn. That's really effective, especially if we've seen some units that really don't want to suffer that. There's quite a few units that are like hitting really well, but wounding kind of on a 4. This can be very effective. -1 to wound, still really good because there's not a lot of ways to get +1 to wound, and there's always the all-out attack for +1 to hit. So minus to hit and minus to wound. Minus to wound is always better than minus to hit. So that's great. And then Starfall, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Stormcast player, you've got to be super excited about this. Cast on a 7. Pick a visible enemy infantry unit within 18 inches or cavalry unit, infantry or cavalry. If you cast this spell, then they can only charge on 1d6 instead of 2d6. That is crazy. Don't forget, you're going to be able to use the redeploy command ability as well. That's really nice. It's also really good if your opponent's set up for a countercharge command ability, which is a command ability your opponent's going to be able to do in your turn. This is obviously a spell you're going to do in your hero phase, or this is where it gets even spicier. If you use the command ability to cast a spell in their turn, and then you Starfall them, so they're not going to be able to charge in their turn. It's really good. There's at least 3 combos there we already talked about with this one unique spell. Super fun. Absolutely love it. So from the launch box, I got to say, massive fan of the Crotean Lord Vigilant. He's on Griff Stalker. It's pretty cool. Got a badass axe. Great model if you've seen it in person as well. Anyway, as a unit, he's got 8 health and he's got a 3-up armor save. Doesn't come as standard with a ward save. It's obviously a Ruination Chamber. So any of the units I'm talking about which are Ruination Chamber have this singular ability, which I'll talk about now. It's got the Ruination Chamber ability. And you're able to use this once per turn for your army. So over a battle round, you'll be able to do it in each player's turn, but only one unit in your army is going to be able to do that. But maybe there's a command trait or something else that's going to be able to let you do it more than once, or maybe a special character. But for now, as far as we know, we can only do it the one time. What this does is when you're targeted with a non-core ability, so like shooting is a core ability, fighting is a core ability. So if you're targeted with a non-core ability, then you can make a resistance roll, and on a 4+, you can just ignore the effect. So it's the whole army, one unit, and it's on a 4-up, so half the time. So I'm going to describe it as not being that effective. It might be super effective at the right moment, but fighting and shooting is going to be the main way you get rid of units. But either way, I'm sure people will be like at the right time, that right resistance roll, and I guess it's meant to represent them being big heroes. Other than that, he's a fast combat character. It moves 12 inches. It's got 8 health and a 3-up save. He died to 3 rat ogres when I played with him, because 8 health isn't a lot and a 3-up save is okay. But like himself, he has Ren. They had Ren 2, so Ren 2 is actually quite good. He's got a Hallowed Great Axe, which is 5 attacks, 3s and 3s. Ren 2, damage 2 for a total of 10. And then the Griff Stalker has got 3 attacks, which hit on 4s, wound on 3s, is Ren 1, and is damage 2. So I wouldn't describe him as necessarily like a frontline massive character. So he's not going to be fighting like, big bricks of ogres or monstrous infantry. He's more going to be fighting your 10-man skirmishy units or screens, is what I would say. Also, and then he's got this one special ability that he can do once per battle called Deliver Judgment. You pick a friendly, and this is done in the combat phase. Pick a friendly non-hero Ruination Chamber unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit. That unit can use Fight Twice abilities this phase. After the first is used, however, the unit has a Strike Last one. Now, another important point to remember is don't forget in the combat phase, what happens is the active player, let's say it was me, I would use all my combat phase abilities. Then you would use all of your combat phase abilities. Then we would start choosing units to fight with, starting with whoever's turn it was. And that's how the combat phase goes. So you would have to be doing this during that kind of series of sequence of stuff. Let me know what you think of the Lord Vigilant. Do you feel like the miniature has had rules written that really evoke the idea of who a Lord Vigilant on Griff Stalker is? Do you like what his rules are? Do you like the model? Let me know. I'm going to review the next two units back to back because I think they are a really good example of how different units are going to do different roles in a Stormcast army. So the first one, the most hype unit in my opinion, are the Prosecutors. I love these. Don't forget they've got the fly keyword, so you're going to be able to fly over units and stuff, which is great. Fly over terrain, other sorts of things. They move 12 inches, and that's got to be the bit that I'm really excited about because the delivery system on these guys is that they are so fast. They move 12 inches, and then you charge on 3d6 versus 2d6. So they have effectively a 23-inch effective range, 11 for the charge, 12 for the movement. So that's going to make them very fast, and they also fly, which is also very good as well. Now, when they get there, let's talk about their output. They have a Storm called Javelins, which are 3 attacks each, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1. Unless they charge, in which case it becomes damage 2. And that's where they get spicy, because you're going to be able to guarantee those interactions. And that's quite a lot of attacks from only 3 models. You get 3 in the unit. So that's 9 attacks, damage 2. It's pretty good. Reinforce this unit up to a unit of 6. That's going to be 18 attacks, damage 2. Then you use the ability that we just saw to fight twice. You're now potentially doing a lot. You're doing 36 attacks, damage 2, and you're charging from downtown. You are going to be you're just going to be a quarterback, just throwing Prosecutors, right into the end zone, and you're hitting it. As for other abilities, in addition, they're 2 health each with only a 3-up armor. Well, 2 health each with a 3-up armor save. So they are fairly fragile because it's only going to be 6 wounds inside of the unit. But don't forget, because you potentially can give them a 5-up ward. They have that Ruination Chamber ability as well, so they can ignore an effect from an enemy unit on a 4+, which is going to be quite useful. They also have a coherency of 2 inches as well, so they've got some range. And as if this wasn't enough, they also have Stormcall Javelins, which are 10 inches, which is only 1 shot each, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage D3, which, if you add that up again with a unit of 6, I like these guys a lot. Sorry, they've only got 2 health. 2 health. Apologies, not 2 wounds. I'm going to keep teaching myself. 2 health. That's a lot of output from a fast unit, right? So this is great. And that's why I'm going to compare them to the Reclusians, right, who are 3 health with a 3-up save, but they are slow. They only move 5 inches. Again, this is a unit of 3, so they're comparable units side by side. They also have 3 attacks. They also hit on 3s. They also wound on 3s, and they also are rend 1, but these guys are natively damage 2, so they're good for an ongoing combat. They also have crit mortal, so any 6s to hit are going to do 2 mortal damage, which is quite interesting. But the comparison, I think, between the two, they also have the Ruination Chamber ability, and they have the Memoriam Descendants, which are the little tokens that they have with them, which are the little humans. They count as tokens, and what happens is you're able to add +1 to your resistance roll or your Ruination Chamber roll. So these are going to be quite good for the purpose of that, in my opinion. However, if you ever make a natural roll of a 1 for an armor save, you both take the damage on the Reclusian model, and you also lose one of your little descendants, the Memorians. So that's lame, because it's a double bad. You take the damage. If you at least they took the damage for you, that would make sense. Grandfather, no, I shall save you. And then they die. That would be quite funny. But no, you lose them and that, which is lame. So that's what the Reclusians do. So they're a really nice side-by-side, because with there being very little in the way of abilities for the Reclusians, in my personal opinion, this means the ability to charge 3d6 becomes this massive stat for the Prosecutors, and they feel pretty spicy. So I love that. I think that's great. Look at the Liberators, upgraded massive hammer lads, 2 health, from the unit of 2 health per model in a unit of 5, with again a fantastic 3-up armor save. They're slower, they move 5 inches. 1 in every 5 models has got a Grand Hammer. They got 2 attacks each, and the Grand Hammer's got 2 attacks. They're all 3s and 3s, all rend 1, but importantly, the Grand Hammer is damage 2. And they have got the Stalwart Defender special ability, where you can add 3 to this unit's control score while it's contesting an objective. Now, that's not +3 per model, that's the total score that you achieve. So unit of 5 would be 1 control score per model, so that's 5, and then +3 for a total of 8, which is pretty spicy, and they're quite tanky. It's 10 wounds with a 3-up armor save, which is quite fun. I just don't see, again, we're just comparing them to the Reclusians and the other guys. They kind of fit into this role like, don't forget there's no battle line in Age of Sigmar 4, so what are we doing? What are we going for? We're going for fast and we'll smash? Are we going for stand-on objective guys? What is going to be useful? These guys definitely are good for holding objectives. Having looked at the Luminath War Scrolls, they look like they're not that good for holding objectives. This may be their purpose, right? Maybe that's their job. Next up, the guy on the front of the launch box, the Lord Terminos himself. Just for the backstory, because I feel it's relevant when we're talking about the rules. Lord Terminos' story is that when Stormcast, the 10-year story arc we've been waiting to kind of conclude, Stormcast Eternals, they die, they go back to heaven, they come back again, they get reforged, they lose a bit of themselves, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap, until they become Reclusians. They're literally almost demented, out of their mind, all of their past life gone away, so much so they have to have their descendants, the Memoriams, carry around with them. This Lord Terminos, that's his backstory. Let's look at his rules. Let's look at him. Oh, he would then, Lord Terminus, to finish the story off, will then execute those Stormcast who lose themselves too much. He will end them. He's an executioner working for Sigmar to end his Stormcast brothers and sisters. Let's look at his rules. He has got a 3-up armor save with 6 health, and he moves 5 inches. And he's got a control value of 2. He has got the Blade Terminos, which has got 4 attacks, 3s and 2s, Rend 2, damage 3, which is pretty nice. And he's also got Crit Mortal, so Critical Morto, which is pretty good. He's a Ruination Chamber model, so of course he can resist stuff on a 4+, and he also has a Memoriam with him because he himself is losing his mind a little bit. And what you're able to do with your Memoriam with the Lord Terminos is you add 1 to the control score for friendly Retribution Chamber units wholly within 12 inches of this unit while it's alive. Don't forget, it's a token, though, and if you roll any natural rolls of a 1 when making an armor save, then your Memoriam is going to die. So it's going to be the very first time this guy rolls a 1 on an armor save, you're going to lose your key ability, or one of your 2 key abilities. His other ability is a combat phase ability, where you're able to choose a non-hero Retribution Chamber infantry unit that has not fought this turn, and they are able to fight after the Lord Terminos has fought. And so you add 3. You add 3 to the control score, for friendly units. It's 3 to the control score, not 1. I apologize. It's a very tough to read image. Okay, so back to what his main ability is, which is you are able to make a unit, a non-hero Ruination Chamber unit, fight immediately after this unit is fought. Now, as has been pointed out in the chat, this means you'll be able to supersede some kind of strike last effects, which is quite a spicy reason to use him. But he himself is not a particularly fast and or fighty character. And the only thing he brings, with the exception of being able to fight alongside another unit at the same time, is the fact that he's going to add to your control score. But he's going to lose that ability very, very quickly. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the Lord Terminos, but the model is great. Next up is the Lord Veritant, my favorite model from the Kick-Ass starter box. Lord Veritant's got 6 health and a 3-up armor save, moves 5 inches, and is a priest with a control value of 2. Isn't what you would say massively good in combat, but it's got 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, Rend 1, damage D3, and you can add +1 Rend if you're fighting against a priest or a wizard. It's pretty cool, in my opinion. It's also part of the Ruination Chamber, so it's got the resistance roll on a d6, and then, as I've said, is a priest. Has got 2 special abilities. His Staff of Abjuration is a passive, and this unit can unbind spells as if it were a wizard 1, which is nice to add on to your priestly abilities, so it's got that kind of duality. Its passive ability as well is Sense Unholy Sorcery, which is attached to its Griff Crow, which has got the head of a griffin and the body of a crow and the feet of a crow and the eyes of a crow, but the griff of a griffin. And it's a token, therefore you can't rally it, and you subtract 1 from casting rolls and enchanting rolls for enemy units within 12 inches while the griff crow is on the battlefield. However, if you roll any 1s when making an armor save, then the griff crow is removed after the attack roll. So no griff tokens for you. And also kind of a common trend, all of these tokens seem to be going away very easily. So you're losing kind of the main spice of most of the units quite quickly. So that's it for the Stormcast, and the chat and me have had a good chat about what we think about them. Some people thinking that they're much more stripped back and simple because obviously this is the launch box, although the Skaven are not, well, the Skaven are still stripped back, but they're not quite as simple. But I want to know what you think. I love the models. I think it's great. I'm already getting the box. I feel a little bit disappointed, and I definitely want to trade up some of my characters for more prosecutors if I get the chance, because I think they look quite spicy. I'm a little bit sad that I'm going to spend a lot of time painting memoriams for them to just be killed quite quickly. But overall, pretty fun, I got to say. And I'm really interested. Do you know what? Let me just tell me what you think. That's what the comments are for. I want to know what your thoughts are on the units. I want to know what you think. Do you think that the battle tomes are going to really kind of add a lot more flavor to the units? Are you happy that the units are more streamlined, which I guess means also less flavor? Like, I want to know what you think. I can only learn by you telling me, so tell me in the comments. Thank you to everyone who joins Patreon. We have faction chats. Let me know. We're going to be doing list tech and other stuff when Age of Sigmar 4 comes out. So join us in there. That'd be really cool. Thank you everyone much. Thank you to everyone on Patreon already for supporting me. Appreciate you soon. Loads. See you guys soon.